Hey guys, I'm in the middle of a TSI logging project, partial clear cut, not completely clear. As you see, we left some trees that we saw as non-desirables or ones that were desirable. One question we get all the time is, should I log my farm before I sell it? And people ask us, should I clear cut it? Should I do TSI work or go in and allow hunters to do tree cuttings? Should I select cut the walnuts or the oaks or anything that the market might be up with currently? So a question we get a lot is, what is it going to look like? Is it going to affect the value of the farm? And our buyer's going to be interested in it. So we're in a situation where the majority, I would say 80 to 90% of the trees were taken out. And I'm with Bill Winke. Bill, you've done a lot of projects on this magnitude and even bigger, right?
So yeah, I mean, to answer that question, I've done a bunch of this kind of stuff, and my focus normally was just timber stand improvement for whitetail habitat. And I did some timber projects. I probably did, timber harvest projects, probably 5 or 6 over the years. And, so I'm kind of versed in this, and I've sold enough land and been around buying and selling land that's been cut. So I think there's kind of a sweet spot in my mind of what a piece of recreational land should look like. Yeah. And to each person, maybe that sweet spot's a little bit different because their focus might be different. For me as a whitetail hunter, I know what I want it to look like eventually. And if the person that I'm buying it from did some of that work before I buy it, I'm going to feel like it's worth more to me. Yep. Because that guy saved me 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? Because this whole habitat thing, that's like the hardest part with managing whitetail land. It's easy to grow food plots, it's easy to shoot does, it's easy to do all these other things that we talk about, but it's really hard to create habitat, especially, stuff like this. This is 15 years. I mean, you'll see some changes here right away, but it's 15 years before this really is going to do what it's supposed to do, right. From holding whitetails for bedding and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's definitely a trade-off in there. You want to see some of this work done, but you don't want to see the person that you're buying it from just, wipe out areas where you're thinking, oh man, they went too far. Yeah. If anything, if you're selling it, you'd rather not go too far.
Yeah. Yeah. Because from a real estate perspective, if I had to bring a buyer into a situation like this and they weren't a deer hunter, yeah. There would be a substantial reduction in interest of price on that property, or maybe they don't want it at all because a lot of the folks aren't deer hunters. They're right. in a place to ATV or be with their family, or a property that's beautiful and a legacy holding. So from a deer hunter, we see this and we say, gosh, this is great, but I wonder how much of an actual percentage of reduction there is when it is a cut that's heavy or not just a select cut on those acres.
In my sense is that it comes back to who you think your buyer is going to be if you're selling.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, I mean, you should know your market. Like the stuff that I've owned was hunting land, and it wasn't any reason for anybody else to buy it. So we felt like anything that we did to improve the quality of that property for hunting, we were going to receive a reward for that.
Absolutely.
So if you were selling this to a hunter, then yes, this is really good. This isn't going to hurt your value of this property, what you've done here, especially this part of it. And we can talk about that more, but it's one thing to cut down all the undesirables, because what's the point of having undesirables, right? You get rid of them. Well, it's another thing to replace the undesirables with something desirable. Right. And that's the challenge. Is like, how do you convert that from a timber that's useless for whitetail hunting into one that's got value? Just getting thicker, and we look around here, we see all this stuff that's coming along the ground that didn't used to be here that deer are going to eat. But long term, what's inside of here, that's what's going to create the long-term value. Yep. So I think that cutting it down isn't as important as what comes back after that. Yep. From a whitetail hunter, as he's trying to ascribe value to what you've done.
Because like this stuff that's on the ground, like behind us, even with these trees, that one that's elevated, some of these, how long is it going to look like this? But until it's in different stages of growth and comes back?
Not as long as you think. It depends upon the species of the trees. Some of them rot down really fast. I mean, oaks don't rot down very fast, but we usually aren't cutting down oaks for timber stand improvement. Yep. If you're cutting oaks, you're probably having them dragged out and selling them. So what you're seeing here is a lot of like tops off basswoods. You're seeing some elms laying around. This is all pretty soft in the hardwood category. These aren't hardwoods. Yep. These are going to spoil or rot down pretty fast. And hickory's like that too. I mean, hickory is going to be gone within a couple of years. Everybody thinks that hickory's a hardwood. There's something in the hickory, I don't know, that attracts bugs or something, and it's just gone.
It breaks down really quick.
Yeah. So
shaggy bark maybe.
yeah, so a lot of this stuff will be gone quicker than you think.
As far as like I was going to come in here and clean up a lot of this brush, the tops that were down, a lot of these other logs and stuff. And I remember just, elk hunting or being in super thick cover in Louisiana or Texas or Mexico deer hunting, and they would crawl out of a bush. Can it be too thick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be probably because, they will avoid some spots that are super thick, but usually it has to do more with like the species that's there. Like if it's all multiflora rose, for example, like a solid, quarter acre patch, they probably aren't going to burrow through that because there's no food in there or anything like that. It's just like a monoculture of stuff that deer don't care about.
Yep.
But something like this, no, because interspersed through all of this, there's going to be food for the deer. They're going to find it. They're going to work their way through that. So, I mean, I don't think this looks good to me. I mean, people would say this looks like a tornado went through, but as far as from a deer hunter standpoint, I'm looking at this and saying, I think you did a really nice job here. The only thing I would probably do more of, and we talked about it, off camera, was just having more replacement trees.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, when you start looking at this, you see the tubes. There's quite a few of them here, but how many acres is it?
About 7.
Okay, so I think the standard forestry definition is 300 trees per acre is a forest, right? So what is that? 300 times
2,100 trees.
Yeah, 2,100. Is that right? Yeah. Did you plant 2,100?
I planted 130 on 7 acres.
Yeah. So,
which was plenty.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding you, but it would be nice if there was more of the replacement trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you go, so I did white oak, bur oak, walnut, chestnut. Would you go more species than that? Would you add in different species of oaks, or what would your recommendation on?
I mean, I think that's probably all fine. I think the chestnuts are kind of trendy and they're pretty cool. I mean, I'd try to find a way to put them maybe towards the edges someplace where you can
stayed kind of closer to the food plot.
Then you can manage those a little bit better long term. But otherwise, I don't think there's a huge difference, because some of the oaks are going to do better than others. Like maybe the reds are going to be better suited to this location or whatever it may be. I mean, I love swamp white oak. I mean, that's one of my favorite trees now, and I guess that's pretty well adapted to a lot of different environments too. So, as I get into my own projects on the farms that I've been buying, I'm going to put a lot of swamp white oak in. So it's just another one for people to think about. It's a beautiful tree. The deer don't seem to browse it as aggressively when it's growing as what they do the white oaks and the red oaks.
Yep.
So it's just another alternative. But I think you plant oak because nature is going to throw all the rest of it in there. Nature is not going to want to put oak here because if you look around, there aren't any, right? Right. So as far as how many acorns are in the ground getting ready to grow little trees, it's probably really, really low.
Yes.
Yep. So any kind of oak that you put in here would be, a good first step. And it's really hard to do what I like to do, and that's the direct nut seeding, where you go in and actually work the ground up and then plant the acorns and then let the little trees grow. Yep. Well, you can't do that here because there's no way you're going to get in here and work this ground. So you have to put in, like you did, the trees in the tubes.
Yep. So thanks for watching this week, guys. We're going to continue to put out content like this. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe to our channel or hit the like button. We'd appreciate it, and we'll see you on next week's episode.